Ryan Jarrell here for MMA News, and I'm very excited to have my next guest on the program. It's Austin Hubbard, who will be back in action at UFC Vegas 91 on April the 27th when he takes on Michal Figlak. Austin, how are you?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Good, man. Nice to talk to you. And as we were talking a little bit before we started the interview, you're a busy man right now. You're in the middle of camp. You have a baby that's going to be born around the corner. What number child will this be for you?
This will be number two.
Okay.
It's the first of my own though. I have a daughter, stepdaughter that I consider a daughter, but this will be first one that is fully blood mine.
Good for you. And now, is there a specific date? Like, what are they telling you?
June 3rd is the date. So, the fight is 5 weeks before the due date, and once I get home, I imagine she can come any point in time. After that. So, I don't know. I'm just real excited for it. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, I can only imagine. Tell me like what the anticipation and the nerves are like, because my wife and I, we're trying to have our first child, and when that ever happens, it's going to be really exciting. But I'm even nervous thinking about the lack of sleep that I'm going to have. Like, what are your thought process as far as that all goes?
It's kind of crazy. My wife's in her third trimester now, and like, I think about it, but like I don't really like know what's coming my way yet. You know what I mean? Because I haven't had a newborn baby yet. But like I'm starting to get to the point where I get those like rushes of nervousness. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm about to have like a little baby and like have to take care of it and newborn and just the nerves kind of start settling in a little bit more as we get closer to the time. Just kind of like in fight.
Yeah, good for you, man. Very, very happy to hear all the exciting news in your personal life. When you obviously when you're in the middle of camp, you have a lot of things to do. You're prioritizing getting ready for another tough opponent. How do you balance that with family life and your responsibilities there and training? Is that difficult for you?
Yeah, actually, it's very difficult. So I was living in Colorado for 7 years. I last year actually I moved back to Illinois where I'm from, and I live in Dixon, Illinois now, which is 13 hours apart. So I'm out in Colorado now, and I'm out here for 7 weeks doing my training camp. And it was really hard. It's always hard leaving my family, but with my wife being pregnant and the baby coming, and I was even harder, like way harder this time to leave for training camp. And I don't know, it's a different experience. This is the first time I've experienced it, but it definitely draws a lot of motivation. I'm making a huge sacrifice to be out here away from my family and not back home helping, as much as I can help and things along those lines. So I feel like it's putting a lot of focus into this camp where I think it'll be very beneficial for me in the end. But it is difficult nonetheless to go
Mm.
that long without seeing them and knowing she's pregnant and you know in her third trimester, and I feel like I'm missing things a little bit. So yeah.
How long will it be start to beginning that you'll, or excuse me, beginning to end of when how far you'll be away from your family for? How long will that be?
It'll be about 7, 8 weeks ish.
Mm.
Yeah, I got out here to Colorado. I drove out on Sunday, this past Sunday. So, yeah, I'll be here till the fight and then fight week, and then after the fight, I'll be going back home to Dixon, Illinois.
Okay. Yeah, because I saw something that you posted recently. It looked like maybe it was a seminar at the Peoria Athletic Club. So that was a
Yeah,
seminar. Camp is still at elevation. You're still there with all those monsters.
yeah, I am. Yep.
Okay.
I do as much as I can when I'm back in Illinois while I don't have anything on the books, and then um when I do get something lined up, and I'm very fortunate that I work most of the time when I'm home. And my boss is also my father-in-law, and he's very supportive. So he's like, yeah, go take his time off as you need. And then usually I'll take 8 weeks off of work and, start training camp and be training full time. And then afterwards, I'll come back home and start working again.
Yeah. Busy guy. You got a lot on your plate. Uh,
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you, Austin, is overcoming adversity and like the mental toughness that I have to imagine it's instilled within you. You know, you've been through a lot in your life. You lost a sibling, you had that leg surgery. What what did that do for you as far as the mental toughness and how that has helped you as a mixed martial artist?
Yeah, I feel like I can attribute that to a few things. My upbringing, my parents they always pushed us and they always, guided us in a great direction to work hard, finish what you start, and things along those lines. And then I can't always say I've been like the star athlete growing up. I grew up doing about every sport there was. I think I was always pretty good, but I always worked really hard. And that hard work that my parents instilled in me, just kind of has carried me through. I think I am pretty athletic and talented as well as a hard worker. So, that carries you through. And then, for a few years, I went through a phase of wanting to be as like humanly optimal as possible. I was reading a bunch of books. I was working with a mental coach by the name of Salt Garrison, and just reading all those books and just learning and working with the mental coach and just trying to evolve as a person, and just working through things and staying true to myself and true to like the process of life. What I've come to realize is like, yeah, I've been through the last 2 years has been really hard. But you know what? There's probably a million other people who've gone through harder things than I. And I just want to, for the people to know that like just keep going. At the end of the day, 9 times out of 10, people don't really care about your struggle. They're struggling in themselves. So just keep going, keep working. And that's really what life's about, man. You just got to keep digging deep and getting things done. I've said this before in a past interview that I feel like we have three options in life. We can either stay where we're at, do nothing, we can go backwards and just have a pity party, or we can keep moving forward. And what decision are we going to pick? And that is kind of I always choose to put one foot in front of the other and keep going forward. And it doesn't always have to be big steps. Sometimes especially when things are real hard, there's little steps, baby steps, but keep going forward as best you can.
Yeah, I love that answer. And I can relate to you a little bit. I lost my father to cancer a few years ago now, and it was unbelievably hard for me. Like I was in such a low
Yeah.
space. I was depressed. And I know for me personally, I had to just try to stay active, stay doing something. I had to be busy to keep my mind off of it. Is that kind of the same thing for you, where you just always need to be doing something to better yourself, just to kind of keep your mind in the right space?
Yeah, man. I don't know if even I could say in that like 2 year span I was in any right space. I've never felt so defeated and lost in my life. Like the it was a long list of things, but my brother's death, it was capped it off. And it just was really hard time. And honestly, I that was the closest I've ever been to giving up on and just saying, forget everything. And luckily I have an amazing wife that supports me and is there for me in every way that I need. And you know, my family motivates me to keep going forward. And I made it out of that. And yeah, I'm finally getting back on track, mentally, where every day I was like, man, life sucks, this, that, but a pity party isn't gonna solve your issues. I find myself being a lot more grateful, and trying to find the beauty in life again and things along those lines. And I'm very fortunate to be back in the UFC. I'm very fortunate. My wife is pregnant with a healthy baby. So I have a lot to look forward to and a lot to be happy about. So I'm just try to concentrate on the little things or even the bigger things and just keep going forward for those things and try not to let the defeats and the heartaches and all those sort of things kind of define you and break you.
Well said. And you're only 32 years old now. Do you feel like the best version of you as a mixed martial artist is still in your future?
I do. Yeah, I feel like it's crazy. I feel like I just started fighting yesterday. I and it's crazy how fast time's just going. Here I am now at 32, and I have a 12 going on 13-year MMA career. Um, you know, over 20 professional fights. Uh, it's just a wild ride. And then all the growing pains. You're living, you're learning, inside of the cage and outside of the cage. Um, you know, Life just matures you as you go. That's part of the going through life, right? If we're not living and learning, what are we doing? Probably staying in the same spot, and that's not always good. So, yeah, I do feel like the best is coming, and I feel like with my experience and mental, fortitude and all those sort of things that um, I'm looking forward to this time around in this run in the UFC. I really wanted to win that final in the Ultimate Fighter, and I just had some mental lapses, and Kurt did an amazing job, and just this is not the way it played out, but in that is a learning lesson. So I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna go forward and dial in the focus even more, and just keep growing and going.
Yeah, I was going to ask, the lessons learned from that finale loss in Boston to Kurt Hollabaugh. Was it just a mental thing? Is it, do you feel like maybe you just didn't execute the game plan that you had made for this one?
You know, I I hate to even like speak on why I lost because I feel like that sounds like an excuse. And I'm not trying to take anything from Kurt. He did an absolute amazing job. Um, it's just, I don't know, it was a difficult camp. I had injuries that I couldn't really train the way normally want to train for camps. I had a lot of things mentally going on. Um, and it just, I don't know, sometimes that's the way it is. And, he was the better man that night. Um, and like I said, we live, we learn, and we grow, or we stay in place. And I choose the first option. So, um, I that's all we can do is just keep
Mhm.
going forward and see what happens the second time around, April 27th.
When you look back at your time in the Tough House, is there a moment? Is there something that like you're going to remember the most over everything else?
Oh man, I it was just an overall experience. It was pretty cool. Going through it, it was the most boring thing I've ever done, and I've told myself I'll never do that again. But I am very grateful that I had that opportunity. Um, but now that it's over, man, it's like where did the time go? It went fast. We're almost a year out now, and it was cool. I'm glad I did it. Overall, it was just a great experience. Everyone in the house was very cool, and there wasn't really a person in there that I didn't like or enjoy, for the most part. And it brought a lot of good things for my life, as I'm back in the UFC here now, and so I'm just grateful for the whole experience overall.
Do you still keep in touch with anybody from the house? Do you have any like lifelong friendships that have materialized from the
Yeah,
Tough House?
we all communicate still, and we have a group chat that most of us talk to each other time to time here and there. So yeah, we all kind of keep in touch. I actually went down and trained with Roe and at Killcliff over the summer, and I seen Mondo at Valley Flow Striking. I train there when I'm home also, and so it's cool being able to see some of them still.
What about Chandler? If you're at Killcliff, do you see him?
He wasn't there when I was there, but I every once in a while I'll get a text from him, and a little brief interaction there, here and there. So, yeah, he's an awesome dude too.
Do you think that Connor Chandler fight will ever happen?
Man, I hope so. They did that whole Ultimate Fighter and everything for what? If they don't fight, what was it for? I guess it was still the show, but that's the whole point of the show, right? The coaches fight at the end. So I hope he gets that fight. That's obviously a big fight for Chandler as well as McGregor. I mean, we all know McGregor don't need to fight if he don't want to. He's made so much money. Is a big deal in MMA. He's accomplished more than I could ever dream of accomplishing, and he has businesses and this and that, and 5 boats and whatever. He lives a life. So why would he want to do this still? But he says he's motivated. So I really hope we do see him back in there, and I've always been a fan of watching Conor and when he was coming up, and I hope he can get get his things, in line. You hear a lot of negative publicity about him. But I just like to see everyone succeed as best they can, you know what I mean?
Is there like an aura with Connor? Like when he walks into a room, is it just different?
Yeah, yeah. I would be lying to say he's just a normal person. He definitely is not. He there definitely is, he has that it factor as Joe Rogan always said. He just has it. He's people are drawn to him for, he has that it. So yeah, I would definitely say so.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I've never met him in person or anything like that, but that's just where my head goes. Let's talk about the 155 division for a second, if we may. Dustin Poirier. Holy smokes. What a
Yeah.
finish over Benoit Saint Denis at 299.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on that outcome?
That he's a dog. He always is in dog fights, and you can't break a dude like that. And I've always been a big fan of Poirier as well. And I was happy to see him get that knockout and get that finish, and stay in a good spot or a better spot. Coming off a loss and things. Although I have to say. Justin Gaethje is one of my good friends, so I'm glad he knocked him out.
Yeah, I saw a video Gaethje after the finish. He was like, "Heck yeah!" and he said, "Say my name," and then an expletive word. Obviously, he was talking about Poirier. So that's if he beats Max. Do you think that's the fight we see next?
If he beats Max, I hope he gets a title shot. Which I do think he'll beat Max, and I think he's very deserving of a title shot. But I don't know. You never really know. It just kind of, we'll see what the UFC decides. And I think Justin is as big his name as anyone in the lightweight division, and if not bigger. The only person that might be bigger than Justin is probably Connor, just because of everything he does. But yeah, I think he should get a title shot after that.
Do you think stylistically he's the most dangerous matchup for Makachev?
Yeah, I do, because he just has hammers. He hits hard. I know firsthand from training. This black guy's actually from him yesterday. So, um, yeah, he hits hard. He kicks hard. He has good defense, wrestling defense. Um, he's a dog as well. You can't break a dude like that. So, I think stylistically, yeah, he's a threat for anyone really.
Yeah, the 155 division is as good as it's ever been. Let's talk about, camp. You mentioned, training with Gaethje. Who have you had specifically to kind of mimic Figlak to get you ready for this fight?
Um, I've been yesterday was my first sparring day out here, so I got a few rounds with Justin, and then Chepe Marasco. Sorry if I didn't say your names right, Chepe. But I got rounds with Corey Sandhagen as well. So, very high quality rounds. Very good strikers. Uh, Figlak seems like he's more of a striker, which is always fun to me. But fight's a fight. We'll see how it goes.
You mentioned Chepe. I'm interviewing him later today. What is it like training with him? Obviously, he's a great fighter, much like yourself.
Yeah, I've actually been training with him for years now. We actually came out to Elevation around the same time, and we lived together at one point. He's from Chicago as well, so we fought on, a few cards back home together. Yeah, he's another dude that's you cannot help but to keep your eyes wide open when he's fighting because he's such a dog as well, man. He's so entertaining. He never gives up. He just gets after it. So those are always, fun rounds and fun. He's always fun to watch fight as well.
Yeah, and again, his fight right around the corner as well. Your opponent, Figlak, he's 8-1. His one fight in the UFC was a UD loss. I'm sure you watched the fight. Have you studied the tape a lot? And like, what did you take away from that UFC performance?
I did watch that fight. That was the only fight I've watched of his. I honestly I don't typically like look into the people I fight all that much because I don't know. I feel like it's a fight, anything can happen. Um, he's skilled. I know he's what 27. He's younger. I like the way he just marches forward and rattle off combos. Like he's not scared to get in a dogfight. Um, I think it'll be a fun fight. I think it'll be a very entertaining fight. And I'm excited for the challenge.
Of his 8 wins, Austin, four of them are TKO, the other four are decisions. So, I mean, if you just look at the numbers, maybe it seems if you take this to the ground, you'd be in a good spot. Is that what you're thinking? Like you want to get this fight to the ground, utilize your wrestling for the safest path to a victory here?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, I'm gonna do what I need to do to get a W and go home with two paychecks. I have a baby on the way. I need those two paychecks. I do feel like I'm a very strong grappler. I feel like I can strike with anyone as well, though. I feel like I'm good at wrestling, jiu-jitsu. So I feel like I can do whatever I need to do. But like I said before, I will go where I need to go to make sure I bring home two checks. Whether that be having success on the feet and striking, then so be it. If I need to take them down, then I'll take them down. And you know, at the end of the day, it's a fight though. So we can say we have this game plan, that game plan. It's gonna play out this way, but I don't know. You never know. Uh, I've visualized every one of my fights every which way, and they never seem to go the way you think. So I'm just getting prepared for a war and the best version of my opponent and just looking to go out there put on a good show for all the fans, make the UFC happy, come home with two checks and see my family and then get ready for my baby.
With your previous stint in the UFC and then your time in the Tough House, do you feel like you fought, tougher competition than him? Like this guy isn't on the level as, fighters that you've shared the octagon with before?
Yeah, I do. I'm I don't want to take anything from his skill. I don't know much about the people he's faced because I haven't really looked into it. But I know the people I've faced, the first time around Olympic medal or Olympic runner ups and multiple time jiu-jitsu champions and high level black belts and just veterans of the game. And I've been fighting these guys since I was his age. Here I am 32 now. That's experience, that's knowledge. And I think that is useful. Anyone who says it doesn't matter, it just doesn't have that experience yet, so they don't know.
What's your official prediction? What are we going to see here on April the 27th?
I'm winning. I'm winning that fight. I'm gonna do whatever I need to do to win that fight. Um, I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna happen, but I just know I'm gonna win this fight. So we'll just have to tune in and watch.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but this will be your first official fight on your new UFC deal, right? So you'll have three more after this?
I actually signed a 6 fight contract. So
Oh,
yeah, I don't know if it started with the final fight. So it I don't know if it's technically the second fight on that contract or if it started after the finals. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, I signed a 6 fight contract with them, and yeah,
well, let me ask you this. Did you sign that contract before the Hollabaugh fight or after?
before. So I think that was the first fight on it.
Okay. Wow. All right. Because usually in the past, anyways, the UFC, if they do sign anyone from the Ultimate Fighter, they'll do it post the finale, outside of
Yeah.
the winner. Obviously, the winner automatically gets the contract. But based on what you're saying, it sounds like, they knew they wanted to keep you regardless. So that's amazing.
Yeah. And I don't know. Like I said, the way it worked, if I won, I would start off much higher than if I lost. I lost, so I'm starting off with what I made in the finals, which I'm still happy with. So, like I said, I'm not sure if that was like a single fight for the finals, and then it starts after based on your result. But nonetheless, I got a 6 fight contract, I believe it was, and Yeah, I'm very happy about it. Very excited. And thank you, UFC.
Yeah, as you should be, man. Well, we're excited to see you back in there again. UFC Vegas 91, April the 27th. Austin Hubbard meets Michal Figlak. Great talking to you today, man. It was a fun interview. Before we do sign off, I want to give you the floor. If there's anything you want to plug, anyone you want to thank, the floor is yours.
I want to thank, my wife and family back home. Thank you for the support. Thank you for all my fans that, buy the shirts, all those sorts of things, the sponsorships. Um, Anyone, who helps me get to this point. My team especially. Thank you all.